Hey guys, so earlier today I put a post up on the Brisbane Hiking and Camping Facebook page asking for a poll as to which equipment I should do my first hiking gear review on. Had a couple of responses on there, and the two that won out as being the top two responses was my Osprey 65 litre Atmos AG and also my Scarpa ZG Trex GTX boots as well. So I decided I might as well do both. That was going to be the easiest way rather than doing two separate ones. So without further ado, let's get into it. So these are the Scarpa ZG Trex Gore-Tex boots. These ones are a little bit dirty from the last time they went out hiking. I've had them now for a little while. I've been trying not to use them quite too much because I don't really want to wear out the soles on these before I go on my big overland track next month. I had previously a pair of Salomon Gore-Tex, I think they were the 3D Pro, and they didn't last. I got about 11 months out of them and the soles just disappeared on me. It's probably because I was wearing them every day, but yeah, that happens. These are just the best boots. The sole on them is chunky. It provides a huge amount of grip over pretty much every surface you could ever come across. Being Gore-Tex, obviously, they are completely waterproof. They claim on their website that they are waterproof and breathable. Now, to me, they don't tend to go together. If something is waterproof, it's not breathable, because otherwise water can get in. Anyway, it is what it is. They have a nice tongue on it that, as with most hiking boots, does seal all the way up to the top, which you kind of need to be able to keep the water out. Very comfy to wear. Heaps of ankle support around the back there as well, which is important for me. I've got an incredibly bad habit of rolling my ankles over just about every rock you can come across. But yeah, no, they're fantastic. I don't have a price on hand. However, I did purchase them from Wildfire Sports and Track. Just throw them across the room. Wildfire Sports and Track, I get a lot of my stuff from Wildfire, and they have been absolutely fantastic to deal with. I highly recommend if you're Brisbane based or if you don't mind online ordering, give Wildfire Sports and Trek a look, because they are, in my opinion, one of the best shops around. The level of knowledge and experience that those guys have is fantastic. No, I'm not sponsored. I just really like their shop. So that's the Scarpas. I'll do a shot in a little bit of them on, so you can get a bit of an idea as to the shape when they're actually being worn, rather than just simply being a static image. Now onto the bag. So this is my Atmos AG 65 litre. Fantastic bag. Although I will say the one thing that I would love to have is for it to have a full-size front zip where the entire front panel can be zipped out. I've seen some where there is a zip that essentially runs from here all the way up and around, giving you the ability to fold the entire pack open and get access to all the internals. This doesn't have that, which is a little frustrating, because it means that if there's anything about there on the bag, you need to get everything that's in the top out before you can do any of that. It does have a couple of really cool separate components though. So there is a sleeping component down here, is what I tend to use it for. Okay, so hopefully that'll be a million times better. So down the bottom here, there is a compartment that is separated from the main compartment that I use for storing all of my sleeping kit in there. So my sleeping mat goes in there, my bag goes in there, my tent doesn't fit in there, frustratingly, which would be good, but it doesn't happen. My liner goes in there, pillow goes in there. Basically everything that I need for the night is enclosed within there, so easily to get access to. The top section is significantly huge, as you'd expect from a 65 litre. It does have a nice little pouch at the back here, an elastic pouch that's designed to put a bladder in. And then there's also a hole that feeds through to there, where you can pass your H2O line through to get your water through. I'm personally not a fan of using bladders. I tend to just hold a couple of water bottles instead. So I'm usually not going to use that. So I'll use that instead for putting stuff in that I want to be able to access easily without pulling everything out of the pack again. Because even if your pack's full, you can sort of slip your hand down, grab anything that's in that pouch. Things like, I'm a fan of, I know, this is terrible, I'm a fan of Crocs. What has happened to me? I become 37 years old and go, oh my God, Crocs are the best thing in the world. Look, they're comfortable shoes for being at camp, and if you want to look like an idiot. So yeah, Crocs fit really well in the back here, just quietly. What else is there? This strap is designed to go over the top to secure your entire load that's in there. And then of course you've got your drawstring, seals it all up closed. The pack's adjustable on the sides. So you've got a strap here and a strap down here, designed sort of like a load lifter, but not a load lifter. If you don't have a full pack, if you've only got 2/3 or 3/4 full, you can just tighten them up a bit, cinch everything in a bit closer, and then you don't have any loose items within your pack. So even if you don't have it massively chock-a-block full, it's still not going to be uncomfortable and weight moving around inside. Just pretty important. On the side, you've got 2 pockets. They do not join. So there's one in that side, one in that side. They are separate pockets, relatively large, and I actually prefer the fact that they don't join. I tend to find that when you've got excuse me, a big pocket like that, if they join together, you tend to lose things as they move around within the pack, and you often end up with stuff that you thought was here that you're digging in this side for is actually over this side, and everything just takes a little bit longer. The very small amount of room that you lose simply by it being sealed in the middle, because that's all it is, it's just a seam. In my opinion, is perfectly fine for having 2 separate compartments instead. There is a nice elastic bit on the front here. This opens way out. Also really handy for putting in items that you want quick access to. Obviously because you don't have to empty anything out to get to it. It's right there in the front. That's a secondary option for Crocs, just saying. There's also a couple of clips on the front here, which I personally use to secure my tent on. Some people put their sleeping pack on there if they use something like a Z-Packs or similar for putting a seat system or a sleeping system on the front there, rather than putting it under your hat on the top. I personally find I don't like anything sitting between the pack and the hat. I like the hat to be straight up against the pack if I can. If it's a choice between doing that or having the hat completely removed, I'll just take the hat off. So yeah, that's where my tent lives, attached to the front there. Not ideal having that weight down low on your back, but it is what it is. If I can, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to for the overland track, but if I can, I'm going to try and put the tent inside the pack rather than fitting it to the outside, just purely for weight distribution side of things. What else can I show you? Oh, one thing that I find really, really good, which I think is going to be really handy for the overland track. I'm not necessarily going to be using my hiking poles all the time. If I'm walking on duckboard platforms, I don't really need to be using my hiking poles. What Osprey has done with this, as with a whole bunch of other ones, is they have a scabbard system in here. So as you're wearing your pack, you can slide your both hiking poles down through here, cinch it tight, then your poles are nice and secure down your side like it would be a sword. So it sits like that, and it's very easy to then release the drawstring and simply pull those hiking poles out. A lot easier than having to take your pack off and secure the hiking poles separately each time you want to use or don't use them. The webbing system on the back provides a huge amount of airflow through. As you can see, it's just mesh. There is nothing behind there at all, so heaps of air gets through. They are a bit of a pain to adjust, so I would recommend anytime you purchase a pack, especially an Osprey pack, get the shop to fit you well, and once you're happy with that, leave it. Just don't touch it. Just leave it as is, because it will do you for years and years and years. Unless your body shape changes, in which case you might need to go back there to revisit it. But I would highly recommend against adjusting it yourself. because you tend to find that even a small adjustment can compound itself, and then, 25 Ks down the track after a full day of walking, your back is in agony, and that's going to ruin any through hike you're doing, or potentially the next week if you've done it really badly. There is also webbing around the bottom. The way it's designed is an elastic system that, as you can see, it stretches out as you open it up, and it gives you a real hugging feeling around your hip, and your iliac crescent sits just here. Sorry, iliac crest sits right there, which is a nice padded area that's really good for holding that weight. What else have we got on this one? The hat. The hat is removable. It does have little tabs at the back, just over here, that you can remove the hat completely from the unit itself. The hat has two main compartments. A top compartment up here, which I use for storing my rain cover, a few other bits and pieces, with a nice little red loop on here. This would be handy for things like if you have a personal locator beacon that you use, you can attach it to this so you always know where it is. Or if you're doing a day hike, you can put your car keys on there so that they're nice and safe. There's nothing worse than, I've heard a horror story about someone going on a nice big hike up a mountain and getting about 15 Ks through a 30K round trip hike, and realizing that at some point during their lunch break they've lost their keys out of their pocket 15 Ks in, and they discovered this when they got back to their car at about 6 p.m. at night. Yeah, not great. End up in that situation and you're in for a very long night, I believe. There is also another pouch at the back here. This one's big. It's a nice big pouch that you can store a huge amount of stuff in there. Really easy to get access to everything in there. I personally put my rain jacket and my rain pants especially in here, so that if I'm out hiking and get in the middle of a deluge, it's very easy to quickly whip them out, put them on, and I'm no longer getting absolutely saturated. There's nothing worse than hiking when you're wet and cold. It's not very comfortable. What else is there on this pack? Oh, that compartment that I spoke about on the front, the sleeping compartment with its separate section, it is removable. So if you're not a fan of having a sleeping compartment or a secondary compartment down the bottom that's separate to the main compartment, you can remove that little separator that goes between the two pack areas and make it just one giant big full pack. Different horses for different courses, whichever you prefer. This little flappy flap here is kind of cool. It's specifically designed so that once you have the pack, what am I doing here? Once you have the pack zipped up, and if you're not using the hood, you can still secure the clips to the pack, and now you're weather resistant again. This pack is, actually that's a good question, is it waterproof? I don't think it is, otherwise I probably wouldn't have bought a rain cover. Maybe, let's go with water resistant. Yeah, it's water resistant, let's go with that. This will at least provide a little bit of water runoff rather than it simply just pouring straight into your pack if you do happen to get caught in the rain without a rain cover. So, I think that's going to be about it for my first ever hiking gear review. How'd I do? Any feedback is welcome. Feel free to come and join on the Brisbane Hiking and Camping Facebook page. There'll be a link to it down in the description there. And I hope to chat to you on there. Any comments that you've got, any questions that you've got, anything you'd like to know more about, feel free to send my way. Talk to you soon, guys. Shoes! So, that's the Scarpas all fitted up. I am terrible at tying laces, so that one is nowhere near as tight as it should be. But, hey. Also, I don't tend to have my jeans tucked into my socks, but you wouldn't be able to see the top of it otherwise. So you can see the amount of support that it gives. It's pretty fantastic. A nice, really solid feel. They're not heavy per se, but they're certainly not the lightest in the world. My Salomons are significantly lighter, but I'm okay with that. I don't mind having a little bit of weight to it. The one thing that I did want to mention, which really took me by surprise, I don't know if you can see it. See the shape of the sole, how it goes flat, and then you get this very steep curve towards the front. It's kind of weird. I'll see if I can get this. So as you step forward, as you roll forward, it's almost like it tries to propel you forward. It's almost like it's just giving you that little bit of a, I don't know, spring in your step as you take a few steps along the track. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Maybe this is something that all hiking shoes have, and I just haven't experienced it before. But yeah, the first time I walked, I was like, oh, hey, what's going on here? I sort of felt like I was springing forward as I was walking along. Odd to get used to, but I tell you what, it certainly keeps your energy levels up when you're hiking. You don't feel as if you're working as hard, especially when you're going up a hill. Cool. So that's the Scarpa's worn. Any of this equipment is available at Wildfire Sports and Track, and whatever other hiking gear supplier you have close to you. Check those guys out. Check the Osprey website out. Check the Scarpa website out. And yeah, have a good night.